Hello, welcome back to Organic Chemistry. Now we're going to cover the nomenclature of functional groups. Now this is just an introduction, so we're going to have some general rules that we can apply, and usually throughout the whole semester, as we learn new functional groups, we're going to learn new nomenclature. But I like to give you a foundation, and the book, your book does as well, but like some foundation to work from, so that you can see some names and not be confused as to what you're looking at, and you should have a general idea. So that's what we're going to do here now. So this is the general trend right here. And it follows along with what we did with the cycloalkanes. And also, remember before I had mentioned about suffix, where we're going to learn about different types of suffix names, and we're going to do that right now. So the basic way it works is that we have a substituent, and it could be one or many, it doesn't matter. We know the rules: alphabetical, numbers separated by hyphen from a letter, numbers separated by number with a comma. All the rules apply that we've already learned. And now, as far as this right here, we have a prefix, an infix, and a suffix. Well, the prefix and the infix we kind of spoke about as well, but let's go back over this. Now, so the substituent, I think, is kind of clear. There's nothing new here. Di, tri, tetra, penta, everything that we discussed. The prefix is new. So, well, not new, sorry. Prefix is just a meth, eth, prop, pent, but, hex, all that stuff, pent, hex. So the prefix is all the same as what we've been discussing, nothing new here. The infix could be an ein, an een, or an ein. Now, this is where we have double bond, it's an en. Triple bond, it's a yn, an ein. But notice that I'm not ending it. I'm not adding an e at the end of these. So the infix does not include the ending, the suffix, right? So an en or an ein, they need to be numbered. Now, this only applies if it's a complicated system. Well, I'll show you examples, but if you only have a double bond and it's on the end, and let's say for butene, you could write butene if it's on the end. Now, normally you would write one butene, but you don't have to. You can get away with writing butene. It's assumed to be number one. But I always tell people, number it out. So wherever the double bond is, or the triple bond, you want to specify it in your nomenclature. You'll see how in a moment. Now this says that the number can come before the prefix or the infix. So let me give you an example of this right now. So let's say again I have this in this case pentene, right? So I would have a 1, because this is number 1. The double bond gets the lowest possible number, and here's 2, 3, 4, 5. So I have a 1 pent. Now that's my prefix. I have an en. And if there is nothing else on this, I'll just tell you now, we add an e to it. So it's a 1 pentene. But I could also write pent dash 1 en, and it means the same thing. So that's what I mean by this rule here. It could come before the prefix or the infix. Okay, so you could write 1 pentene or pent 1 en. Same thing. Okay, now normally we write 1 pentene in this case, but you'll see examples, especially as we get to more complicated nomenclature, where sometimes it's better to put the number right next to the en or yn and so on. Okay? All right. So now remember, ein is a triple bond. So if there was a triple bond, then we say it's a pentyne, a 1 pentyne or pent 1 ein. Okay. Now the suffix is where it gets interesting. A suffix is the actual functional group. So if you have, for example, an alcohol, then the suffix is an ol. If you have a carboxylic acid, a COOH, double bond OOH, it's an oic acid. An aldehyde is an al for aldehyde. Ketone is one. An amine is just an amine. You add the word literally amine into it. Okay. And then alkene, alkane, alkyne, they're all ending with an e. So let me give you an example of this. Let's say, for example, I have a double bond here, and I have, let's say, an OH right here. Now, in this particular case, there's no priority for the OH because it's equal distance from the end. You always have to number from an end, right? Always in nomenclature. So it's either this is 1, 2, 3. It's going to be 3 for the OH. So we might as well make the double bond number 1 on the right side, right? This is better off being 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, why do I say that? Because, you see, one thing I want to point out, this is the priority trend. So an alkene is not a higher priority than an OH. An alcohol has priority. What does that mean? That means that even if the alkene's on the end, the OH must win. It has to be the lower number. That's what it means. But in this example, it didn't matter because the OH is number 3 no matter which way we number it. In that case, we might as well get the E, the alkene, on the end. So I'll give you two nomenclatures so you can see what I mean here. Let's say the OH is right there. So now I could number the 1 for the double bond, but that's not the priority. If I did 1 for double bond, then it's going to be 4 for the OH. We want the OH on the lower possible number. So this must be number 1. Then this is 2, 3, 4, 5. You see that? So this trend up here tells us priorities of these groups. And again, you must remember that the things that are above, like an OH, for example, it has a higher priority than an alkene or an alkyne. And so it has to be the lower number. Okay, so it's not about combination anymore. It's about getting that OH on the lowest number. Now, people sometimes say, well, why didn't you start number 1 on the OH carbon? You can't. You have to start from an end. You can't break that rule. It's end to end. So you can't, do it any other way. Now, how do we name this? So let's go ahead and do that. So the first thing is we have two things to reference, the OH position, and we also have the double bond position, right? So we could write, we have a 1 pent, right? So here's our prefix. Here's our infix, ene. Now, we're not going to add an E at the end because it's an alcohol, so that means it changes to all, right? So -3 all. See that? So now I have a very clear organization. I have a double bond on position 1, and I have an OH on position 3. Now, I could also write, or I could write pent -1 Notice how numbers are separated by letters with a dash. And then -3 all. Same thing. Same name. Okay? You could use either one, and it's up to the professor which one, if it's multiple choice that they give you. If it's up to you, either one works. I usually put the 1 in the beginning for something, and it's always going to be the double bond. You're never going to put it for the alcohol. The alcohol is in the suffix, and so the number must stay with that suffix unless it's the only functional group, and we'll see examples of that. So if there's more than one functional group, then the suffix number goes with the suffix. Okay, it can't go with the infix or the prefix. Okay, so it's always the infix could be with the prefix or the infix, but the suffix stays with that position. Now that's only true if there's other functional groups. If there was only an alcohol, then you could write 3-pentanol, and that's fine because there's nothing else. There's no way to be confused about that. There's no ambiguity as to what that number 3 means, right? Okay, so let's go ahead and look at this next one. We have over here, now again, we're going to start numbering with the alkene. So it's either a 4-pentin -2 all, or pent -4-ene -2 all. I'm running out of space. Okay, you see that? So we have a choice where we put the 4, but we don't have a choice where we put the 2. The 2 must go with the all, and that's how it works. So I hope that's clear. I think this is pretty straightforward. It's just practicing, and that's really how you get mastery with this. All right, now, these are the priorities. Now, keep in mind, carboxylic acid is the highest priority, and we'll add more to this list, but this is really nomenclature. And I wrote here, you could read this on your own, that suffix has the highest priority, and so everything I just described is listed there. Now, this right here is kind of the rules that you've seen before in my other sections. So we alphabetize for priority. It's not numerical. The di, tri, all these different prefixes that we talk about that represents a number, we ignore. We don't alphabetize on those, okay, except for iso. That's the only one that we do. And then finally, here's something unique for nitrogen. I don't know if this will come up for this exam. Probably not, because you have a whole chapter on amines. But if it did, let me just tell you that a nitrogen, when there's things on the nitrogen, we use a capital N instead of a number for whatever's on the nitrogen. You're going to see an example right now. All right, but this covers nomenclature. This is really it right here. And the best way to put this together is let's go through some nomenclature together, some practice.